next one. These are all different types of institutions we find under the differential banking institution. Some most important concepts relating to the banking institution at present. Certain terms and concept that is recently used in the working of the commercial banks of India. Concepts. The one such a concept is what is called BPLR, base rate, and MCLR. BPLR, base rate, as well as MCLR. BPLR, benchmark prime lending rate. Benchmark prime lending rate, BPLR. Benchmark prime lending rate. There are customers to all commercial banks, nationalized as well as the private commercial bank. They have prime customers. Prime customers means most important customers of the commercial bank from the very beginning. Sometimes they were cooperating with the local commercial bank, and the bank itself may be working and properly functioning in the locality because of the support given by certain prime customers of the bank. You see that financial inclusion means what? Financial inclusion is a policy of government for financial support to the weaker section of the population, providing concessional loan to the lower, grassroots, weaker, downtrodden class of person, uplifting them by giving a financial support, the objective of a financial inclusion policy. But you know that in order to provide financial support to the weaker section of the population, that is necessary. It is a most important objective of Government of India at a liberal concessional rate of interest loan facilities given to the weaker section of the population. Of course, it is necessary. But a commercial bank may be existing in the locality because of what reason? Because of the support of some prime customers. So, commercial banks should not forget the class of persons who are a constant depositors of the commercial bank. Sometimes their deposit is the reason for the existence of the commercial bank. That commercial bank itself is working in that locality because of the deposits maintained by the prime customers with the commercial bank. Our such types of prime customers also should get some loan facilities and other financial support from their commercial bank. We cannot forget the prime customers of the commercial bank because of their support. Sometimes the commercial bank is now existing in the locality. Our financial inclusion, of course, is necessary. There we are concerned with the weaker, lower section of the population, providing financial assistance. But at the very same time, the commercial bank cannot forget about those persons, prime customers, sometimes rich persons who are giving cooperation for the establishment of the commercial bank in the locality. Our RBI permitted a liberal rate of interest, concessional rate of interest can also be allowed to the prime customers of the bank. The most important customers who are the prime customers of the commercial bank, they should also be provided with some loan accommodation, loan facility at a concessional rate. Commercial bank can provide loan facilities to the we may say prime customers of the bank. That rate of interest charged by the commercial bank for their prime customers is what is known as benchmark prime lending rate. The benchmark prime lending rate is the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank for the loans and advances to the most important prime customers of the commercial bank. That is what is called BPLR. That is benchmark prime lending rate, the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank for the loans and advances given to the prime customers, most important customers, because of their support and their long existence as customers of the commercial bank. The bank is able to continue their business in the locality. Such types of prime customers should be given loans and advances at a concessional rate of interest, and that rate of interest is what is known as the benchmark prime lending rate. Subsequently, in the year 2010, we find Reserve Bank of India put a guideline that the rate of interest of a commercial bank, whatever may be the rate of interest of a commercial bank, whether it is for the benchmark prime lending rate or ordinary rate of interest charged by the commercial bank, shall not go below a base rate. In 2010, in the year 2010, according to the guidelines issued by the Reserve Bank of India, a base rate of interest. What do you mean by base rate of interest? The lowest base rate interest. The lowest rate of interest. The lowest rate of interest that can be charged by the commercial bank for loans and advances. The lowest rate of interest that can be charged by the commercial bank for any kind of loan shall not go below a fixed lower rate. That rate, or that minimum rate below which no rate of interest can fall, known as base rate. Base rate, a commercial bank should fix a base rate. Rate of interest for all type of rate of interest are nowadays fixed by the commercial bank itself. RBI is not fixing the rate of interest. It was fixed by the rate of interest. Rate of interest was fixed by the RBI prior to 1991. Prior to 1991, RBI fixed the rate of interest that can be collected or that can be imposed by a commercial bank. That rate of interest was fixed by RBI prior to 1991. But with the new economic policy, subsequently we find commercial banks are permitted to fix the rate of interest for the depositors, for the deposits as well as the loan, both. For the deposits as well as for the loan, commercial banks permitted, individual commercial banks are permitted to fix the rate of interest by RBI. That is the reason we find rate of interest differ from one commercial bank to the other now. What rate of interest offered by SBI or charged by the SBI different from the rate of interest charged by Canara Bank or Syndicate Bank. It is different now. Why? Because now the rate of interest for both loans as well as the deposits fixed by the concerned commercial bank itself. Now, what is the instruction given by the Reserve Bank of India in 2010? A base rate was asked to fix by all the commercial bank, below which no rate of interest can fall down. No rate of interest can fall below the fixed base rate, minimum rate that should be fixed. Then, how to fix the base rate? In order to fix the base rate, RBI has also given instruction. A guideline within that guideline, it is mentioned that in order to fix the base rate, the average running cost of the commercial bank should be calculated. Average running cost of the commercial bank should be calculated to fix the base rate. Average running cost. What do you mean by average running cost? That is the cost of establishment of the commercial bank, administrative expense of the commercial bank. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ the expenditure required for the commercial bank during 1 year. During 1 year, what is the total expenditure in the form of administration അല്ലെങ്കിൽ establishment charge. For example, sometimes the commercial bank may work in a rented building. Monthly rent is to be paid. അപ്പോൾ rent is a administrative cost, running cost of the bank rent. Electricity charge, internet charge, telephone charge, many other type of additional expenses are involved for the commercial bank. That is what we call running cost. There is a running cost to all commercial bank, including we may say the different types of charges like electricity charge, internet charge, water charges, rent, etc. All this for 1 year. What is the total expenditure for the establishment? For that commercial bank, what is the total running cost or administration cost during 1 year? Divided by 12. Divide it by 12 so that you will get the average running cost of the commercial bank. അപ്പോൾ calculate the average running cost. വേറെ ആയിരിക്കും. Even interest is fixed by individual commercial bank ആണ്. Running cost will also be different. Base rate കൂടുതലും കുറവൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും. Running cost will not be the same for all the commercial banks. Sometimes one commercial bank may be established in the city, the most must say populous city, so that running cost may be very high, rent may be very high. On the other hand, if it is established, the branch is established in some remote area, the rent may be lower. Our running cost will never be the same for all the commercial bank. It will vary from one commercial bank to the other based on the locality where it is established and the nature of the commercial bank transactions. On the basis of the nature of the commercial bank, it may vary. So take an average of the administration cost or the running cost of the commercial bank during 1 year. That should be the minimum base average cost of running, below which no rate of interest can fall. You calculate the rate, average running cost of establishment of a bank and fix a base, a lowest rate of interest that can be charged by the commercial bank, which is called base rate. But what is that base rate? How is it calculated? On an average basis. Running cost was allowed to calculate in 2010 on an average basis. What is the average running cost? Average running cost you are calculating for each and every commercial bank, and that average running cost shall be the base rate, the minimum rate below which no rate of interest can fall down. That was the guideline issued by the RBI in 2010. Calculate the administration cost on an average basis. Then another thing is that what is the intention, main objective when the repo rate, reverse repo rate and such things are varied? What is the most important objective? We know repo rate and reverse repo rate are meant for what? It is meant for liquidity adjustment. It is meant for a liquidity adjustment in the economy. Moreover, there is another objective behind the variation in the repo rate. For example, repo rate means what? Ordinary meaning of repo rate is the rate of interest charged by the Reserve Bank of India for loans and advances to commercial bank. The rate of interest charged by the Reserve Bank of India to loans and advances given to commercial bank is what is known as repo rate. When the repo rate is increased or decreased, what is the objective of the Reserve Bank of India? Along with other objective, one of the objectives of the Reserve Bank of India is that rate of interest charged by the commercial bank should also move in the same direction according to the variation in the repo rate. according to the variation in the repo rate. That means if the repo rate is increased, it is intended that commercial banks should also increase their rate of interest. When the repo rate is reduced, commercial banks should also reduce the rate of interest. Commercial banks are getting at a lower rate of interest credit facilities from the Reserve Bank of India. That benefit commercial banks should extend to the ordinary customers of the bank also. They should also give at a lower rate of interest loans and advances to their customers. That is the intention. One of the intention. One of the intention of the repo rate variation is that the benefit of repo rate, when the repo rate is reduced, commercial banks are eligible to get a loan at a lesser cost from RBI. That benefit enjoyed by the commercial bank should be extended to the customers also by commercial bank. But when the repo rate is increased or decreased, it is also the decision or intention of the Reserve Bank that commercial banks should also follow. They should also follow the same policy of either increasing or decreasing according to the variation in the repo rate. But when the repo rate is reduced, the governor, the Reserve Bank of India found that commercial banks are not responding. Commercial banks are not permitting the benefit to the customers by reducing repo rate. They are not reducing repo rate. They are getting at a lower rate of interest repo rate. Commercial banks are now getting loan facility from the RBI. But they are not giving, commercial banks are not giving this benefit to their customers. They are not changing. When the repo rate is increased or when the repo rate is decreased, commercial banks silent. They are not varying their rate of interest. So Reserve Bank of India thought, why commercial banks not following the Reserve Bank India policy of variation of repo rate? According to the variation, the rate of interest is not varying. Why? That was the question at that time. Therefore, the last governor, he could find the problem. He could find that the base rate was asked to calculate on an average basis. Base rate was asked to calculate on what basis? Average of the running cost of commercial bank. Average of the running cost, that was the method directed by the Reserve Bank to calculate base rate. Now, average 1 year, you are taking 1 year total cost and divide by 12. So you will get average cost. When the rate of interest or the repo rate is increased or decreased, sometimes increased during the year, sometimes it is decreased. When you calculate the average will remain constant. Even if it is increased a certain occasion, there may also be a decrease in the repo rate in the very same year. So that average, the plus and minus will be cancelled, average will remain constant. So the governor found out the reason why base rate was asked to calculate on an average principle. That is why variation in the repo rate is not followed by commercial bank in fixing their rate of interest. Commercial bank is not following because they are asked to calculate the average running cost. Average running cost will remain constant. Though repo rate is increased in certain occasion, a certain other occasion repo rate will be reduced, so that the positive and negative effect will be cancelled to keep the average always constant. So they are not varying. So average method used for the calculation of the base rate was the reason why the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank is not responding according to the variation in the repo rate. Therefore, the policy, the method of calculating base rate was changed. in 2016 by MCLR method. MCLR, marginal cost lending rate method. Marginal cost lending rate method, MCLR. Marginal cost lending rate method, MCLR. Marginal cost lending rate. Marginal cost lending rate, MCLR, was introduced in which year? In 2016. For what? For fixing, calculating the base rate. Instead of what? Instead of the average method. Instead of the average method, commercial banks were instructed to calculate base rate according to marginal cost lending rate. What do you mean by marginal cost? Incremental cost, additional cost. Marginal cost refers to incremental cost or additional cost. Suppose in one occasion, the Reserve Bank of India reduced the repo rate. When the repo rate is reduced, additional cost of borrowing from RBI to commercial bank is reduced. Cost of getting loan from the RBI to commercial bank is reduced. Accordingly, marginal cost of getting loan from RBI to commercial bank is reduced. If so, rate of interest charged by the commercial bank to customers should also reduce. Why? We are not fixing the rate of interest based on the average principle, but you are fixing the base rate on the basis of the marginal cost, additional cost. Marginal cost or incremental cost. Incremental cost method is what is known as the MCLR, marginal cost. Our commercial bank should calculate the base rate on what basis? The base rate was to calculate not on a average basis, not on a average running cost basis, but it should be calculated on basis of what is called the incremental cost of borrowing fund from the RBI to commercial bank. Incremental cost, adana marginal cost. Incremental cost is what is called the marginal cost. When the repo rate is increased, what happened? When the repo rate is increased, getting loan to commercial bank from RBI is increased, so that correspondingly the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank should also increase. When the repo rate is reduced, commercial banks are able to get the loan from the RBI at a concessional lower rate, so that they should also reduce the rate of interest charged for customers' loan. Average principle removed, withdrawn. Average principle is withdrawn, and instead a marginal principle of cost. Marginal cost method was introduced in India with effect from 2016 onwards. So that now what happens? So that now the market rate of interest, the repo rate as well as the rate of interest is somewhat uniformly moving. When repo rate is increased, corresponding increase you can also see in the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank. When the repo rate is reduced, now the rate of interest charged by the commercial bank is also correspondingly decreasing. Now you find these two rates of interest are now moving somewhat same. In the same manner, after the introduction of what? After the introduction of the MCLR principle in 2016 onwards. We have fixed a base rate method for the fixation of rate of interest charged by the commercial bank on a average basis in 2010, and because of the defect from 2016 onwards we have switched over to fixation of the base rate on a marginal cost method. Our MCLR method is what is now existing as a method for fixing base rate and all the subsequent rates of interest of a commercial bank.